Hi everyone. So today's the third class of the website development class. And I'm gonna start in like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just gonna wait for a couple more people to join. Yeah, until then you can just research on your own if you want to, or you can just wait here. Okay, so it's 5:03, and if there are any more participants, they can join at any time. So we're gonna just start today's class now. And okay, so today we're basically doing like a continuation of last week's lesson. I had to cut it short and like go over some other stuff because some people were interested in knowing about CSS. But today we're gonna go in more depth with CSS and HTML. And last week might have confused you a little bit. That's why we're gonna do like a little bit more practice. So here, it's like the same presentation from last week, but I will go over everything again just in case. Okay, so here are some simple HTML commands. There's the paragraph, header, hyperlinks, and images. We went over that last time, and we also went over like source and href, which is basically how you link other websites and other images. Then the syntax is pretty simple. It's just a starting tag and an ending tag. And sorry, in HTML, the spaces don't really matter, so you can have all the code on one line and it will still run correctly. And like the tabs and indents don't really matter either. So CSS basically stands for cascading style sheets, and it's just like a styling language. Like HTML is like a markup language, and CSS is a styling language, and it's used for color, design, and layout of website. So there's two syntax aspects of CSS: identifier and ID identifier and class identifier. And you'll learn more about them as we use them more and more. They can be kind of confusing to remember. So once you start using them, you'll get the hang of it. So here are some like things that you can customize using CSS. You can customize your background color, the text size, margin, padding, radius, body, and like there's also like fonts and stuff, but that has more to do with HTML. So CSS is mostly this stuff. And padding is basically like how much space there is between like the edge of the box of a text and the text itself. Margin is just like between the text and the side of a page. Radius is like whether you want to make like the text box like like how circular you want the edges to be. Like if you put radius like a really high number, it'll basically look like a circle. So if you want to make like an image look like a circle or something, that's what you would use it for. And if you don't want it to look like a circle, then you would just put radius 0, which makes it look like a rectangle. And we'll get more practice with that too. So again, there's syntax in CSS too. So it's just like selector, property, value. We went over this last class and we like did some examples. So it's important to keep in mind that you have to have a semicolon, otherwise you're going to get an error. And everything after that will not run, only like up till there. So if there are any questions for like basic HTML CSS stuff, you can unmute and like let me know because I don't think there's a chat box. So yeah, you can just unmute and ask me right now if you want. If there are no questions, you guys can just open up Sublime and we'll start like doing some practice for with HTML CSS. So here are just my files from last week, like we did the HTML and also CSS. So today we're going to get a little bit more practice with just like the CSS. And if you weren't here last class, this is how you link your CSS files to your HTML file. This is like the name of your CSS file. This is just a type of like what file it is so that it, the HTML file knows that you have to connect to a CSS file. So you guys can do that with your own HTML and CSS files. If you don't have one, just make both of them. If you have an HTML but not a CSS, make a CSS file. We'll like start coding in that soon. And also like just make an HTML file if you don't have that. I'll give you until like 5:15 to catch up with everything. And if you're already done, just hang tight.
Are we going to add on to this week's code or do we just create a new file?
You can just do either. You can like either make a new one if you like want to do that. But since we didn't do a lot last week, we can just continue from last week's file.
What do we have to download to do this on?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
What do we have to like download to
Oh, this is
write
called
code on?
Sublime Text 3. It's just an IDE where you can like make any type of code. You can do JavaScript, anything, but we're going to be using it for our web development classes. So to download it, you can just search up Sublime Text 3 on whatever browser you're on, and then select the correct version for your computer. Like if you have a Linux, it will be different from the Mac version, and it will be different from like Windows. So just pick the correct one and then download like the 64-bit. And if there's no 64-bit, just download the 32-bit. And then you can do the installing wizard, and then you can just open it up and make a file. The download doesn't take that long. On my computer, it took me like 30 seconds. So you can just quickly download it right now. And if it's not working for you, you can always use an online compiler like Replit, or there's other ones too. You can search them up. But Replit's probably the best one if you can't use Sublime. Okay, so now we're gonna like start on CSS. And we already started last week a little bit, and I just showed you some basic things you can customize, but now we're gonna like take it one step further and learn like a more commands so that your website can be unique. And so yeah, and also one more thing. For the last class, we're gonna make like a final project. It will have everything that you've learned so far in this class, so like HTML, CSS, and everything we're gonna learn from now on, we're going to incorporate in your final project. Your final project will basically just be a website about yourself. It will have an image. You don't have to put an image of yourself necessarily. You can put an image of anything. You can put your name and some like fun facts about yourself. And you can customize it to make it like your own. And you can add like links to like anything about yourself, like if you have a YouTube channel, you could link your YouTube channel, or if you have like a really like fun website that you know of, or it's like your favorite website, you can link that too. And so yeah, we're just gonna like start on our final project, but we'll start like with baby steps. So we're gonna start with just making like the basic HTML layout of your website. So you can just put text, headings, stuff like that. So yeah, you can just continue it from like last week. We started with just putting your name and some facts about yourself. So you can just continue using that same file. And so today we're just going to add some CSS to your website. And you can add CSS to your final project as well. And yeah, so basically we're starting our final project in this class. And you'll build it up in each class and submit it at the last class. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with some CSS. So here we have in pink this letter P. It basically refers to the paragraph in my website. So it will only like affect this part of what will appear on my website. So when I run this, it will just have like a sentence saying this is an example paragraph, and whatever I do in CSS, it will show up there. So I have background color pink. So basically the text box color will be pink. So theoretically, when I run it, the background color of this is a paragraph will also be pink. The font size is 15 and the color of the text itself is blue. So you can go ahead and try out yourself like these different commands. There's also other ones like radius, border radius, there's border top left radius. You can customize a lot of different things. So let's say it's like NPX. It shouldn't be a lot, but it'll be slightly rounded on the sides. And yeah, so now we can just save it. You can Control S, or you can manually save it in file. And we can run it in here. See, now you can sort of see it's small, it's really small, but you can sort of see that the ends of the paragraph are kind of rounded. So that's what the radius does, basically. And you can see it on the side too. And you can also see that the background is pink and the text itself is blue. So yeah, this is basically how CSS works. So this part's yellow because in my CSS, I have an H1, which refers to the header. And since I have only one H1 header, my name, that's what it'll be customizing. I colored it yellow. So yeah, you can start doing that on your own website. You can like color the background, you can color your text. And yeah, if you don't already, you can like add some images and some links too. So you can go ahead and like customize it yourself. And also one more thing that I wanted to add was that if like you didn't think that these CSS commands were like enough for you and you wanted to make it even more like special, then you can definitely like search up different like CSS commands. One great place to look at new CSS commands is W3 Schools. They also show examples, so you can see how it's like, implemented in the code, and you can also like see like more HTML tags. Like you can learn about like forms and stuff. I don't want to go into too much detail because they're not going to be that important for class. But if you want to like add it to your website, you can do that. So the one I'm talking about is W3 Schools. There's also Stack Overflow if you want to look at something specific, and Geeks for Geeks. All three of these websites are really, really great for like help and just like reference. So you should definitely check them out if you want to know more about HTML and CSS. I'm gonna give you until 5:45 to play around on your own website and customize it, make it look nice and like color it, stuff like that. And then after that, we're gonna talk a little bit more about like, I'm gonna start talking about the back end of your website. If you wanna add that, if you don't wanna add that, it's fine.
How do I view what I've done so far?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How do I view what I've done so far?
So you can save it in your file explorer, just like name it name of the file that you have, and then go to your file explorer and just click on it. It should have a little logo of your browser, and then you can just click on it and it will show up in your browser.
Okay.
Here, I'll go over like so here I have my Sublime text. So I can just say Control S, right? Then go to my file explorer and my this is the name of my website. It's currently named example. So I just click on it twice and it shows up in my browser here. Okay, so I hope you guys had some time to make progress on your websites. If you didn't, you can always do it outside of class. And yeah, so like I said, I'm going to be talking about backend now for the last 10-ish minutes of class. And so basically the backend of the website is the part that controls the functionality of the website. So the website's split into two parts, the front end and the back end. So the front end is basically consists of HTML and CSS, basically what we've been doing so far. And the back end can be done with many different languages like Python, JavaScript, etc. And all of these back-end languages are really similar, and you can learn any of them really to make your website interactive and make animations and stuff like that. So I personally know Python, but you guys can also do it in JavaScript and Node.js, etc. So I'm just going to be teaching you guys JavaScript because that's how I started it. I make most of my websites using Python and HTML, but it's perfectly fine to also use JavaScript, which I'm going to be going over next class. So like I said, the backend usually controls all the animations and the interactiveness of your website. You can create forms, you can create you can add a lot of different things with websites. You can also add databases, etc. And it's really useful to have a backend. However, a lot of websites are static. So if you don't want to have a backend, that's also okay. You can just have it made up with plain HTML, CSS. However, having a backend makes it more stylish and makes it look really professional. So it's good to have a backend. And so that's what we're basically just going to be doing in next class. So if there are any questions, you can unmute and ask me the questions right now. And if there are no questions, we can you guys can just keep working for the rest of class, and then I'll end the meeting at 6 o'clock.